Right, so, the Kickassia news thing is with Rolo T. Rolo T was actually down there for the trip the whole time, but you might have noticed he doesn't get a lot of screen time in this, which I kind of felt a bit bad for, but he was actually working a lot behind the scenes. Bargo was there also. That I was there a minute ago doing jumping jacks. I was hiding behind Lee, I think, because my jumping jacks are shit. So you can't really see me, but yeah, that's where the jumping jacks are. For me, I am in that shot, just trying to hide. I do that several times in the video. If I'm not very good at something, I try to hide behind someone. And we'll get to that later on. With regards to my character, I know some people didn't like the fact that I was out of character, but again, as I said before, it's another facet of my personality. And when I got the script 2 weeks before, I really started preparing for this character. I put a little bit of prep time trying to practice this character. I wasn't aware my face was that goofy. I was supposed to look scared, not retarded, but never mind. I really started trying to prepare for this character. And there's actually a lot of things I do for the character, like I'll be really energetic. I try to be like an 8-year-old, essentially. Flamboyant and over the top, but that's kind of what an 8-year-old is. They're just like a firecracker of energy. And the other thing that I do a lot in this is I raise my voice. I can make my voice go really high, and I'm doing this the whole time that I'm on camera. Just to make it sound more kid-like, you know? Like the stamps trick. We're pals, right? We're pals. We're pals. But yeah, my voice is a bit lower than that. I love Brad Jones' voice. Me and Brad Jones got along really well. We shot the McBain crossover before the Kickassia shoot. And we just talked for ages about films. Like, I believe I horrified him by saying that not only is Sallow part of the BFI, but it's also on Blu-ray in the UK. So you can pick out all the little nuggets. That's just wrong. That's just so wrong. You could probably see if the actors are eating well in Blu-ray. I'm sorry. You probably didn't need to hear that. Let's see if I can kick my brain back into talking about Kickassia, shall we? Before we continue down that disturbing route. Okay, what else? You feel beautiful.
And no others looking out for the well-being of Kickassia.
You feel beautiful.
Take Sage, for example. He is making sure that everyone is in good shape, acting as Kickassia's Surgeon General.
In my short time as Surgeon General here at Kickassia, I've made 2 amazing medical discoveries. One, when holding an Uzi, you will not die.
Shit, I'm running out of topics to talk about. Or am I? I'm kind of reluctant to talk about certain things because I haven't got to them yet in the video. This is my first ever commentary. Jury's still out on whether or not I'm doing completely shit, but never mind. I didn't volunteer for this. I don't like smoking.
Especially pregnant
But the character I play, I don't think Doug envisioned him as like a big excitable kid. I think he envisioned him more of a sucker. But I was trying to play him more innocent because I thought it was funnier that way. Like he kind of doesn't realise he's a stuck-up. He's a suck-up. He just loves him so much. He's just like I want to be there so much. I think where some of that might come from is my extremely nervous sounding Skype chats to Doug. I don't like to audio chat. I like to text type. But even if I text type, I text type like I speak. Whenever I write something, it's like how I would say it. So I believe the most clear recollection of one of those instances at the beginning of my latest series of Bad Movie Beatdown Season 2,
Another person
was when I asked Doug to do a cameo at the start of it at very late notice because I couldn't get hold of Mike Ellis for the cameo, and I was like, hey Doug, and I don't mean like hey Doug, I mean I literally put hey Doug in text. Yeah, I'm an idiot, but never mind. But I think that's where it comes from. Just my little nervous. Because I'm a bit reluctant to talk to Doug, not because I dislike him or anything, don't get me wrong, it's just that I think I probably have a bit too, I have so much respect for him, and I'm aware he's so short on time that I just get I'm kind of afraid of talking to him, just in case I'm interfering, because I don't want to be that guy who's just like, oh hey Doug, oh hey Matthew, you're here again. I don't want to be that guy, so there have been long periods where I don't speak to Doug, and I just get a bit nervous about speaking to him, just because I'm always afraid I'm interrupting a nostalgia critic or something like that. So I don't want to be that guy that delays the nostalgia critic. This probably sounds completely irrational, and it probably is. But hey, I'm full of irrational fears, so go figure.
No, but it sure does hurt a lot.
Oh, Lindsay is a wonderful person. I flew back with Lindsay on the first leg. The first leg of the flight back was Reno to LAX. The flight in was San Francisco, but the flight back was LAX. And there was a little embarrassing moment then, because as we were going through passport control, as we were going through security control, I was just picking up my things, just resuming conversation with Lindsay, and suddenly, Matthew Buck! What's this? A fan? In Reno? I never would have guessed. You left your passport behind, sir. Oh. Oh. Thank you. Yeah, really awkward and embarrassing, especially in front of a peer like that. Yeah, me and Lindsay, we spoke on the plane, and we just talked, Just a pleasant person to be around. Whenever she was off camera, she had an essay to do, so whenever she was off camera, she was pretty much working on this documentary she was working on. I'm not sure how that went, but I'll have to ask.
This world is full of cruel, cold-hearted people, and they don't maintain the same standard of niceness that I try to maintain. Am I not nice?
Yes, you are. You are very nice.
So why would they say that?
Anyway, what else is there to say?
I would presume that it's because I'm a woman and prejudiced.
Sorry, you kind of get caught up in this thing. Oh, Doug. I should tell you about the first time I actually met Doug in person, since we were talking about how awkward I am around Doug. The first time I met Doug and Rob was the very definition of awkward. I mentioned before, earlier on in the commentary, that I had been awake for 25 hours. And about 20 more minutes before they went to bed, Lewis, Rob, and Doug all knocked on my door, and Lewis was inviting me to this bad movie session they were having, and Doug and Rob were just knocking on my door to say hi, and Rob said, jokingly, "Hey, Film Brain, been moderating the forums?" And I was just like, and my brain, like sleep-addled, completely with a lack of sleep, had my impulse control completely shut down. So when Rob said that, what he didn't realise was that I had actually tested out the internet in my hotel room, because I brought down my laptop, by moderating the forums. So, when he said that, I, in total seriousness, replied, "Yes, I have. You can you could just hear a pin drop at that moment. It was so awkward. It's just so unbelievably awkward. And I can't imagine what they thought of me at that point. Just like, Film Brain's a weirdo. But I can hopefully my relations with them were a bit better than that. Maybe I'm misremembering these incidents to be a lot more awkward and embarrassing for me than they actually were, but
just don't come to me.
There were a couple of awkward incidents, and I kind of fixate on those just because you sort of remember embarrassments a lot more than your positives. Back to Fez. Fez is a very quiet guy in real life. Fez is actually, he will leave himself to himself. He's not one of those guys who's actively shouty. He's a lot more deadpan. He's not. So there were times that our room was probably actually the quietest, just because I'd be browsing on my computer and he'd be kind of doing his own thing. I mean, that's not to say we didn't get along. It's just, you know, we had a little quiet downtime moments. And there's me again.
The plans for your rocket shower are in, sir.
Excellent. Do they have the little beer holders on the side?
One of the funniest things that people have said about seeing me in the trailer is, wow, Film Brain's lost a lot of weight. And I love that. Because it is true, but it's often said by people who haven't watched the show in a long time. So, I mean, a lot of people who've been following my show don't really pick up on it until they see an old clip. But I think the people who are scared away by my old stuff, Equilibrium, yeah, people who got scared away by that stuff. Oh, this look here, by the way, that is general intimidation, because Doug did that, and I was not expecting that, because that was the first time he'd done that. And so my look of that was like that. That was a genuine reaction from me. Just I was trying not to crack up, because Doug's voice as N the Bison is hilarious. But yeah, people who haven't watched my show in a long time tend to say that I've lost a lot of weight, and it is true, but it kind of shows that they haven't been watching it a lot. But hey, I'm happy for the Kickassia vids, because I think it's kind of re-exposed me to that guy with the glasses populace at large. I think it's convinced people to give me another shot, and that's part of the reason why I put so much dedication into it. Just because this is kind of a bit of a big break. It's kind of like my comeback shot, I guess, for people who kind of didn't watch me after Equilibrium. If you notice, there's a lot of little mannerisms in my performance. Like in that scene a minute ago with the Nostalgia Critic, there's I improvised the whole hand rubbing thing and the bouncing back on the sofa. As soon as I saw that sofa, and I knew I was going to be on that sofa, and I saw how like buoyant and bouncy it was, I came up with that idea that when I say sit on sofas and stuff, I would lean back and then just like bounce forward again. Just because I thought that would be I just thought that'd be a nice little funny touch, and just kind of goes with the character, just because he's so energetic. Just he'd be bouncing off the walls if he was any more energetic. I mean, God help me if I ever drink Red Bull.
I don't know, but it can't be good. We have to tell somebody about this. You mean like the Nostalgia Critic? No!
Was I unhappy with my part? No, I wasn't. I was actually very pleased with the part that Doug gave me, because I was actually kind of surprised at how big a part Doug gave me in the script. I was kind of expecting to be a lot more of a background player than I was. I actually think my role is surprisingly pivotal, especially in regards to the whole cinema snob thing.
You know, I don't know why the press picks on you so much. You seem like the nicest person to me. As we all know.
But I was surprised at the script actually, just because it was so long. I was just like, wow, Doug is really going big.
Nothing to worry about.
It just sort of surprised me, just like, how do you top the Brawl? Well, of course you make a 90-minute movie.
Say, is it me or does this tea smell a little...
And,
poison?
I was surprised at how much I was involved in the script. And contrary to popular belief, I didn't have any problems with it. I know some of my fans had a problem with me not being my usual sarcastic self, but I don't think it would have worked, especially since Phaelus plays that sarcastic role so well in this. Like, he is the perfect person to play if you want a deadpan snark. Okay, he's just so quietly sarcastic. And it really works. I think Doug really wrote the script to play to a lot of our strengths. And I think the silly side is something you don't often see from me. Because a lot of people don't like it in my reviews. Early on I tried to do lots of little silly sketches, but I don't think people really like them. A lot of people just preferred it if I just did straight reviews. So, I mean, occasionally I'll do them, but generally I just try to play it straight. But I do like playing silly, because I like comedians like Harry Hill. I mean, my show is influenced by Charlie Brooker, of course, but I'm also a big fan of Harry Hill. And Harry Hill is a really silly... For those of you who don't know, Harry Hill is the presenter of a show called TV Burp, which is essentially like the Nostalgia Critic, if he was not as violent and was just very British and very silly. He's a bit Benny Hillish. He's a bit like Nostalgia Critic meets Benny Hill, and he's one of the influences on my show. And I like playing that silly humour. It's just that I don't get a lot of opportunities to do it on my show, because people don't like it. So I don't tend to do it. But did I dislike the script? No. I don't think I had any problems with the script. I think I did the script pretty much to the letter, because I thought my part was that well written, and I liked my part that much. When I read the script, I was laughing at my part, because because the way it was written on the page I could just envision it in my head, and it was just so funny. I just enjoyed the idea of being such an idiot, and being like such a childlike entity. Just during this scene, I think I was back in my hotel room. If you're wondering where I am during these scenes, if I'm not on camera, I'm often back in my room. I think I was talking to my parents at this time. Coming up is my big scene, and this is part of the reason why I like the script so much, just because it is so pivotal to the plot, surprisingly. And I was actually kind of interested to see how this would play out, because I wasn't sure about my performance, just because obviously, as I said before, this was a theatre performance, not an on-camera performance. But I think it comes off well. I don't think I dial it down that much, but I think it's just right for the character. I think it's just about right, and I think that's probably down to my prep. Cinema Snob, though, I think he's probably one of the best actors in the film, just because he's got the voice. I think if there's any slight missed opportunities in this, I probably would have given Cinema Snob Brad a lot more Jack Nicholson lines, just because he could deliver them. I'm like the leper. In this town, I'm like the leper with the most fingers. Can't we all just get along? You're goddamn right I did! You know, just more of that sort of thing. Just because his voice is just perfect. But Doug is really on the ball here. I think Doug easily matches Brad's game in this scene here, because he is so creepy. I think I I think we were watching him doing this scene. It was just impressive, just how he could be so creepy.
Nasty bastards. Are you?
He kind of channels Ask That Guy at this point.
Good. I'm glad we had this talk. Take care.
Nasty Wasties. Ooh, that's enough to send a chill down your spine, isn't it?
You're right, he's nuts. We gotta act, and we gotta act fast.
This is past my performance because I really tried to play up the girlish, the really childlike. So I'm really flailing. I think I did about 3 takes of running down the corridor. I was actually surprised at the take Doug used because I don't think that's my best take, but it was sort of funny. I think the reason Doug chose it is because when I reached the end of the corridor, I do like a little spinning twirl thing. I just sort of ad-libbed that on the spot. The stethoscope, by the way, the stethoscope that's coming up in a second that I use this on the door, that's actually Spoonie's Dr. Insano's stethoscope. And it is an actual stethoscope. It's not a prop stethoscope. He actually went and bought a proper stethoscope. Which is kind of weird when you're listening to that in your ears, just because all you get is like this sort of hum, just like. And that was kind of a bit distracting when I was doing that scene. And this is my big scene. Everyone found this really funny, and I was quite impressed with this, just because I remembered the lines. I remember the second half quite well. I think I went through this 3 times, I only screwed it up once. But, oh, the shit-faced bit, by the way, was an ad-lib. The shit-faced bit was an ad-lib. I think it was just drunk, but I thought shit-faced would be a bit more British and a bit funnier. This was the... what day was it? It was day 2. This was the very last thing we shot on day 2. So the pressure was kind of on me. Everyone was just like waiting to go home, and I had to do this scene where I had to make this big extended speech. Oh god, I'll get to this in a minute. I haven't done yet, but I had to do this big extended speech, and I'm amazed I managed to get through it so many times without screwing up. But I'd learnt the second half of it quite well. The first half of it, though, a little bit rusty, but I managed to get through it quite quickly. I was a bit nervous during the scene just because the pressure was kind of on me a bit. Just very last thing of the day, everyone wants to go home because everyone would be shattered by the end of the day. I think everyone would agree on that. And so pressure was on me, but I'm surprised at how well I managed to pull it off under pressure. There's actually another mannerism that I kind of thought about in the script when I saw it. When I tear open my jacket, when I tear open my jacket to reveal the Superman shirt underneath, that was something I thought of when I read it in the script. Because I had that Superman t-shirt. I picked the costume choices according to the character. And my thought for the character in a lot of this, the costume that I wear for most of this, which is the black jacket and white shirt, if that sounds familiar, that's because I was trying to... I thought, because the character loves the Nostalgia Critic so much, he would actually try to... His Kickassia attire would be actually dressing up like the Nostalgia Critic. Of course, you know, Doug's got the N. Bison costume, so we're not jacket buddies, but I just thought it would be a nice little touch. Just that my character really wants to be the Nostalgia Critic. And there was another mannerism that There was another little mannerism that I came up with on set. In that scene where, like, we're pals, right? We're pals in part 3. There's a part where I asked for his cameo, and I stroke the jacket, and that's trying to call attention to the fact that my jacket is a bit like the Nostalgia Critic. Because he just loves the Critic so much that he's just like, I love my jacket, because it's just like the Critic! Oh, this scene, you can just see my head just behind Doug. The reason why I'm standing there is because we shot this on the first day, and Doug's voice cracked me up. Just so the reason I'm behind him is so you can't see me, because I was just stifling my laughter, just trying to make sure this take did not get botched by me acting like a complete imbecile. I think I oversell this. When he turns round, I think I oversold this just a little bit. In 3, 2, 1. 1.5. Turn around, and yeah, I think I oversold that just a little bit. If I was any further back, I think I'd fall into Handsome Tom's lap. Anyway, back to that scene where I'm kidnapping the cinema snob in the hotel, where I'm holding him hostage with a gun. I will remember Doug's direction for that. Doug's direction for that is... No, it was Rob's direction. Rob's direction was, imagine you're like a SWAT team, but all of them at the same time. So, essentially I just had to be... I was making up gibberish, I'm not actually forming cohesive words for the most part. I'm sort of half saying words, but sort of being very loose with the enunciation, so it's just like... But I took that opportunity to slip in a few movie references, actually. The most obvious one being Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker! Which is obviously from Die Hard. I love Die Hard, so I just slipped that in there. The other one is a lot more obscure. The other one is a reference to the Nicolas Cage movie. I say Nicolas Cage movie, he's a supporting character in it, but everyone remembers Nicolas Cage in this movie, Deadfall. And this was one of the topics of conversation that we had backstage. And one of the conversations we had was talking about this movie, Deadfall. And Deadfall was infamous just for this extremely over-the-top Nicolas Cage performance. He's just outrageous in that movie. He's insane. And the way I allude to that is, if you listen carefully, at one point I go, no, asshole! Because that, and I'm not making this up, Nicolas Cage actually does that at one point in the movie. At one point in the movie, he literally goes, Eddie. It's like James Coburn is just there, like, Eddie! And he's just like, hot-headed, I'll show you who's hot-headed, asshole! He does that. And so that's another movie reference, and I kind of dropped that in there as an inside joke, because me, Brad, Sage, and Spoonie were all talking about it. I believe Spoonie wanted to do a review of it, but the clips he wanted to include were... By the time he was done including clips, it was about 90 minutes long. It kind of shows you how just terrible a movie that film was. Matee. The script I got, the earliest scripts I got had a lot more material for Matee. But I think Bargo didn't want to be typecast as Matee too much, and plus I think Bargo was the guy getting lunch along with Rolo T. So he couldn't be on being Matee and doing catering. Matee was actually supposed to be more of an active invader during this whole invasion. He was more of a supporting character, but it's kind of a credit. I think it works better that he's only in one scene, just because he steals that scene, and I think if he was in there, I think he probably would have distracted from the other performers. Plus, I don't recall him actually doing all that much. So it was probably for the best that his character was not tagged on the way he was. I mean, some people complain that he was tagged on, but the way he plays that scene, I think you'd have to be a bit of a Grinch to say it was completely pointless. I think in terms of plot, maybe, but he's just so funny that I don't think it's pointless, because we're aiming for chuckles here, obviously. We're aiming for laughter. And any scene that's really funny, I think, should stay. A funny scene has a point. I remember the first time I saw this scene, And I wasn't here for any of this. I think during the shooting of this scene, I was in the bathroom talking to Rob and Brad in the bathroom. And Spoonie shot this. This was the very last thing anything was shot. This was the very last location shot. So I didn't know how this transformation sequence would go down until I saw it. I knew it was, we all knew it was there. It was in the script. I didn't know how this was going to go down. And to Spoonie's credit, he does this amazingly well. Just about the right balance of comedy and horror. Oh, I love Linkara's reaction there. I think that's just perfect. Linkara tweaked the writing of his character to make him a bit more negative to the idea of Dr. Insano, because I think the original script was he was a lot more blasé about it. But even still, I think this takes a loose idea to continuity, especially in regards to Linkara, Spoonie, or myself, and I think you just got to accept that. This is sort of an original work on its own, as well.